testosterone and physical exercise. We've made a very conscious decision not to promote testosterone replacement therapy as a lifestyle drug, because testosterone deficiency syndrome is a medical condition, and the purpose of testosterone replacement therapy is normalization. A bit disappointing. Well, it's not disappointing actually, because your genetics want you to be strong. They want you to be able to procreate and fulfill your biological destiny. Most guys who present to me with low testosterone obviously notice a physical decline, and whether that be loss of mean muscle mass or increase in visceral fat or fatigue, poor recovery, it's never the presenting symptom. It's very much a secondary or tertiary symptom. The cardinal symptom that guys present with is a mental health problem, minor, moderate, severe, and decreasing cognitive abilities, not being themselves. And that's what they want to solve. That's what they want to rectify. They want to feel normal again. Now, does that mean when you're optimized on testosterone replacement therapy that you cannot achieve your goals in the gym? It kind of depends on whether they're realistic goals. So you cannot become Arnold Schwarzenegger without putting the hard work in, year out, having a meticulous diet, and also having a little bit of primo and debo. You cannot really defy your genetics to the extreme. However, you can optimize your genetics. So am I going back on what I've just said? It's not a lifestyle drug. I hope not. What I'm trying to say is, purely from a biological perspective, obviously mid-20s, you're at your healthiest, and hopefully your testosterone levels are at the highest, and you're supposed to pass on your DNA. Now, the natural course of life is obviously testosterone levels drop, and you become more susceptible to chronic disease, your telomeres shorten, and your chromosomes unravel, and you're supposed to die. So there are plenty of guys, 50s, 60s, 70s, who have optimal testosterone levels. So they haven't declined. They're still waking up with morning wood. They're still physically active. They are leading productive lives. They do not need testosterone replacement therapy. So testosterone should not be marketed as a lifestyle drug. It is a medical drug to normalize a medical condition. But you can achieve what you want to achieve within limits. You cannot become something else. You cannot defy your genetics, but you can optimize your genetics, which I think is interesting, because you've obviously presented with low testosterone through whatever cause. It's inconsequential. You are presented with low testosterone, and hopefully you've had all reversible causes excluded and addressed, and you've made the necessary lifestyle changes in order to hopefully naturally increase your testosterone levels, so that you can feel the qualitative and quantitative benefits of optimized levels. But when you're low and you can't, TRT is most likely the most appropriate option for you. I did a blog about TRT in sports, and I talked about how it's an unfair advantage to place somebody on testosterone replacement therapy against somebody that's not. We're all obsessed by numbers, and in this case, numbers actually matter, because I used the example of the Chris Weidman Vitor Belfort fight. So, after an arduous training camp, Weidman's levels down at 300 and Vitor's were up at 1200 at the end of a training camp. So that is an unfair advantage. So when you're on testosterone replacement therapy and your levels are optimized, it is rather unfair, because a strenuous exercise regime should cause a temporary blip in your testosterone levels. So they should drop slightly. If you're overdoing it, then you obviously need to have a sustained period of rest for the anabolic processes to predominate so that you can recover. So testosterone replacement therapy does actually allow you to recover quicker. You don't have the physiological mechanisms that have to be initiated in order to stimulate the testosterone production to help facilitate anabolic processes. So it is a little bit unfair, but does it mean it's wrong? And the answer to that question is obviously no. It's actually a Brucey bonus. Because what we are doing, as we've already discussed ad nauseum, is simply normalizing your male androgen levels. We are not raising them to supraphysiological levels, because actually supraphysiological levels have long-term negative health consequences. And much like, I don't know, what's an example, just a stupid example, a line of cocaine, massive dopamine hit, then that dopamine has to be replenished, and that takes time and time and time. So, I felt great. I'm glad you felt great. But your body has to be able to recover. So much like when you run high, so say your free testosterone's up at 1.3, 1.4, that will likely have a negative outcome on your HDL, so your high density lipoprotein, so your good cholesterol, and your hematocrit, so you'll produce too many red blood cells. There's a reason why the gear monsters only do 12 weeks of their anabolic androgenic steroids. It's because the body does not like to be up that high. So it puts stress on all of your organs, including your kidneys and your liver, etc. So if even the steroid boys get it, why is it okay for some people to advocate supraphysiological levels in TRT? Well, it isn't. It 100% isn't. And unfortunately, there are unscrupulous people who are advocating supraphysiological levels because I feel great. And because levels have dropped, it's okay. It's okay. We always talk about not obsessing by numbers, but this is actually probably a situation where you should actually have a look at numbers and see what happens to your HDL, see what happens to your hematocrit, see what happens to your SHBG. SHB, sex hormone binding globulin, is my favorite glycoprotein. Is it weird having a favorite glycoprotein? Probably a little bit. SHBG. Now, some people don't think it's necessary to have a look or monitor or optimize your SHBG. That shows a basic lack of understanding of its role within the body. and its associations with insulin resistance, diabetes. We've discussed before, testosterone has a super short half-life, 10 minutes to 100 minutes. So it needs to get bound to SHBG. So you'll have a group of guys saying, oh, bang in prop. And the athletes do that. They bang in prop because it's got a super short half-life and it's cleared out of your body really quickly before the drug test. Oh, I could mention names, but I'm not going to. Might get myself in a lawsuit. But it can tank your SHBG. Over-aggressive protocols tank your SHBG. Badly designed protocols tank your SHBG. So, the aim of testosterone replacement therapy is normalization. But that isn't boring, because you have to remember that your body, your chromosomes want you to be strong. So you have the ability to go out there and exercise. You have the ability to go out there, exercise and recover so you can exercise again. But you just have to remember that if you stay catabolic, even though you're having exogenous testosterone and HCG, your body will catch up with you, blood pressure, etc. Putting stress on the heart. These big boys that grow and grow and grow through steroids, through super physiological TRT doses. You have to remember that the heart is surrounded by something called the pericardium, which is a fibrous capsule. It's designed to protect your major organs, your major blood vessels, and your heart. So it's there to protect you, and you get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you think, I'm invincible. So you get some massive guy and you ask him to go for a 10k run, and he thinks he's invincible because he's that heart it won't be able to compensate. It won't be able to keep up. So you do have to have an element of sensibility, and that's not depressing. That's because that big gearhead who can't run 10k. Oh dear. Bit disappointing. So when we talk about physical exercise and testosterone replacement therapy, you don't need to exercise, but it's stupid not to, because it's not about muscles. It's about long-term health and well-being, and that includes psychological well-being. Now, exercise will cause a release of dopamine. So you will have a reward from exercising. That reward also comes in the fact that you've overcome that challenge that I don't want to go to the gym. Oh, I could sit here and eat French fries and watch, shitty TV. Or I could go to the gym. Now, testosterone gives you that ability to go, right, forget that guy. I'm going to be this guy. I'm going to go. And then you have that subsequent reward. After you've you've broken that psychological invisible barrier, you've actually allowed yourself to fulfill your biological imperative, and that's hunter-gatherer, move. You're supposed to wake up, you're supposed to be hungry, you're supposed to hunt food to live. So exercise sort of fulfills that, and it allows you to actually let's go back to caveman days. I'd love to go back to caveman days. I've got a few people who I'd like to hit first with my hammer. You need to you don't need to exercise, but it seems silly not to. Now, you don't have to pump it down the gym. You know, you need to find something that you enjoy, but something that challenges you. You know, we all need goals. Goals are incredibly important. It all sounds great. I'm going on holiday soon, and I couldn't think of anything worse than lying on a beach for 2 weeks. Day, 2 days, I'll be jet skiing, windsurfing, doing all sorts, because I just can't. It's not because I've got some vitus dance. I just don't see the point. I travelled around Australia and the whole combi van hippie thing. The reason why I went to Australia was because I wanted to dive with great white sharks. So I did the whole combi van, did up the east coast and down to Adelaide, and oh god, after the great white shark thing, I was so bored. Another waterfall, yeah, another beautiful mountain. You know, God, it was boring. I needed to achieve, and I think modern society has a peculiarity, because obviously, with all this health and safety bullshit that we have, we don't exercise. We don't. Everything's easy. It's just so dull. So you know, when I went back, I was like, you know, I was dying to do something. I was dying to actually exercise my brain, because again, hunter-gatherer. You know, you don't just hunter-gatherer, but you know, you're not just mundane. They have to actually hunt. That takes cognitive abilities. You're not just running along until you find whatever you want to kill. You have to use strategy. You have to use your body. You have to use your brain in order to out-trick that animal that you need to kill in order to survive. And we've lost all that. So, you know, we live in this really peculiar world where we don't move and we get stressed, but we don't release that stress through physical exercise. So yeah, we know this immobility is a risk factor for low testosterone. We need these periods of catabolism, so exercise, fight, flight, however you want to call it, which then sparks anabolic processes when you rest. You know, we are supposed to be working with nature, not against it, and we have this really weird health and safety, energy saving world that we live in. You know, it just drives me mad. So you know, so I'm saying you don't have to exercise, but it makes perfect sense to utilize that testosterone, because why else are you doing it? You know, to be the best version of yourself. You know, and that means having a healthy lifestyle, eating right, and exercising. And again, you don't have to be down the gym. You should find something that you enjoy, hiking, whatever. But just use it. Find something in nature. Nature is so incredibly important. I think people forget that, and it's like, oh, down the gym constantly, and you know, it's dark and all dingy. I love it, but actually, you know, everybody knows that when you sit out in nature, there's a calmness and there's a serenity that you do not get anywhere else. I talk to my guys about relieving stress, and I talk about, because you know, we've got some high-powered executives and obviously business owners and etc. And you know, I've got no time, and it's like, you know, they live in London, it's all hell on earth as far as I'm concerned, and it's like, just find a park, find a tree, find something to reconnect with who you're supposed to be, get out of this rat race. And whether it be just closing your eyes and doing a bit of meditation for 10 minutes, do something. It's crazy, this perverse world that we live in. So, exercise. Do some sort of exercise. Do whatever you can. Set some goals, small goals, in order to achieve a bigger goal. Remember, it's a journey. the problem with weights is that journey can only reach a finite destination. So the guys that are saying, "Oh, I want to get my 200 kilo squat," it's like bang. I did a 200 kilo shoulder press, and it was like I was proud of myself, but then I was injured. so I was like, "Well done, Rob. You did a 200 kilo shoulder press." So yeah, now you're injured. So I think it's about functionality, and I think that's what people need to appreciate. I do like that Henry Rollins quote, "The eye never lies," and that's very true. With so many inconsistencies in life, and again, because of our society and it's our own doing, there is some inconsistency in the iron. And it's quite a cool quote. If you're not aware of it, I'll put a link to it. A link to it? No, I won't bother. You find it yourself, you lazy buggers. Do something. Think for yourselves. I can present you with so much information, but unless you're actually ready to accept it, then I might as well be talking to my iPhone. God, I think I'm going crazy. So, exercise. We are setting goals. What goals are we setting at the Men's Health Clinic? We are going to do Rat Race Dirty Weekend 2020. Boom! So I invite you all to join us. All of you. You can do it. Not all of you can do it, but those who are hopefully physically capable can do it. Okay. So there's two. There's the half mucker. If you haven't done an endurance event before, I'd probably do that. I wouldn't do that. I would do the 20 miles. Do the 20 miles. Man up. You can walk it. It's for fun. Don't walk it, but do your best, because that's what matters. That's what matters in life. Oh, I only did that 3/4. I achieved the goal that I wanted to achieve, but I didn't actually put 100% in. It's pretty fruitless, isn't it? That's quite sad. Well, it's very sad, isn't it? Because if you set your bar low, then you're never ever going to have that dopamine response that you seek. The fear of failing. Oh, it's terrible, isn't it? The fear of failing. I've had the fear of failing. But you've got to conquer that demon, because he doesn't serve you well. It's much like the darkness, isn't it? It's easy to go towards the darkness. It's actually quite hard to go towards the light, but the light actually gives you reward. I hope that continued. I had a low battery warning. I've been banging on for 23 minutes. So, as you guys know, we did launch the Healthy Body, Healthy Mind Choose TRT campaign. And we're going to relaunch it. Because we need to emphasize the association of testosterone with mental health. Not muscles, but mental health. So it seems rather ironic that we're going to do a physical event. But the physical event is actually mental, not physical. Because I guarantee the body can do more than your mind allows it to. And I think you need to understand that. So it's about setting achievable, realistic goals. So if you go onto the Rat Race website, I will put a link to that in the comment section. If you go onto the Rat Race website, sign up. We'll be there. Myself, Liz, Chantel, and a lot of the TMHC crew. We want as many people there as possible, because I think it'll be a cracking event. Seb Fontaine was there DJing the after party. The after party's wicked. We had Judge Jules when we did it. It was cracking. Really, really good fun. But I tell you what, I could not walk the day after. or the day after that, the day after that, or the day after that. I didn't really train very well for it, to be fair, but I'm going to train properly. So there's plenty of time. There's a training schedule. As I said, you don't have to be able to run 20 miles. Mind over matter. Well, you're all optimized on testosterone, so you should be fine. You should have the mind. You should be able to do this. Do it. Set your goal. Achieve your goal. And then set another goal. Achieve your goal. As we've always taught before, life is a journey, it's not a destination. So, take care, guys.